Good morning, professionals you trust. My name is Leslie McFadden, and I have the honor of introducing our weekly presenter today, my very good friend, Tina Mitchell. We asked Tina to answer a few questions so that we can get to know her better. The first question is, what led you to the industry you're in? Her answer, growing up, my parents had a challenging time keeping a roof over our heads. My little sister and I played our violins at Pike Place Market to help pay the bills. This experience drove me from a very young age to want to make money when I grew up, in fear of not having anything like my mom and dad. I purchased my first home when I was 20 years old. When I decided to be an entrepreneur, I knew I could be passionate about helping others reach their dream of home ownership as well. I told myself if I could be passionate about my career, I could succeed at a high level. I started my career in the mortgage industry in 1995. That's an excellent answer. Second question, what is something we don't know about you? Well, this will be fun. The answer is I was chosen to represent the US in a world competition as a concert violinist. I spent a month in Europe competing against other young violinists from all over the world. I knew that already, but some of you didn't. The third question, what do you like to do in your spare time when you're alone? I love to do grown-up coloring books and puzzling. Next question, if you could offer a first-time entrepreneur a piece of advice, what would it be? Her answer, I would share my three mindsets. Rejoice in your small successes, take the hard road, which represents change, and embrace your failures. And the last question we asked her, how do you manage your work-life balance? That's an easy answer, she says. I work hard and I play just as hard. Priority is a choice, and having a balanced life is the choice I have made for my life. Everyone, welcome Tina Mitchell.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Leslie. So today I'm not going to be running a slide deck, just going to talk a little bit more up and personal so you can see me instead of my slide deck. I would like to start out with, in my presentation, sharing the difference between a banker, broker, and a correspondent or mortgage banker. So a banker only offers their products. They have overlays based on risk tolerance. This means tighter guidelines than Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac or FHA and VA require. Service level, minimal control. They are a bank first and just have a mortgage division. The mortgage division can sometimes just be a pain and they don't want to deal with it. This is why banks are known to run into timing issues. Now, sometimes they are buying the market with their rates and other times they're pricing themselves out of the market. Why would they do that? Well, during a refinance boom, they can't handle the volume, so they just increase their rates. In today's market, some banks, they're limiting their risk because of the volatility by increasing their interest rates. Next, a broker. They have access to multiple lenders. Perception, they have the lowest rate in town, but not the case. They are on a retail channel, not the wholesale channel. Service level, absolutely no control. They don't underwrite or close the loan. This means that the loans must go to the actual lender for every step during the entire closing process. They are just a number and in line with everyone else. Now, correspondent or mortgage banker, reference to both of those, same thing. Also access to multiple lenders and products, service level, maximum control, because they underwrite and close the loan in their name. The markets are very volatile right now, and it's disrupting to the mortgage lending industry. Having options controls this disruption. So why would a mortgage professional work for a bank? Easy answer, leads. They do make a little lower commission per deal. They see this as an easy road, not having to build referral partners, not having to stress about performing at a high level with those referral partners. So why would a mortgage professional work for a broker? High commission per deal. It's all about the money. But for me, it's reality. I would make much less if I could not perform at a very high level, and I'd be wondering where my next deal was going to be coming from. So why would a mortgage professional work for a correspondent lender, or also known as a mortgage banker? The same reason I do. to have what I see as the best of both worlds, highest level of service and competitive price and products. I am only as good as the team that supports me, and I feel that I have the best team in the industry, my personal team and my Highlands team. Yes, I do have to generate my own business versus leads through a bank. And yes, I make less money per deal than a broker. But I think this is the perfect mortgage world to be in, and I would not have it any other way because I have control over the process and I've closed many loans, which I call a hero loan. I'd like to share one of these because it was a recent loan that I closed with one of the agents that work in Leslie's office. I shared a little bit last week in professional tip, but I'm going to do a little more detail here. Dorinda, the agent, called me just before the 4th of July holiday weekend, and her buyer was under contract, and the lender, a broker, declined the loan towards the end of the closing timeline. The reason, they were looking at her as a contract employee, and she didn't have a history of working contract work and could not get a letter from her employer guaranteeing that she had 3 years employment because her contract was going to end before then. When Dorinda shared she was a W-2 income, I thought, we should be able to save this deal. I discussed it with my underwriter and I called Drenda back within the hour. I received the contract on Thursday, June 30th, right before the 4th of July holiday. The buyer's current lender asked for the basic information, so I also had to gather all of the required documents. The scheduled closing date was on July 14th. We had no pressure to close on time because all parties were assuming that we could not do it, and they were ready to provide an extension if needed. They just wanted to keep the deal together. But we did it. We closed on time and didn't ask for an extension. We had 15 calendar days with a holiday right in the middle of that. This gave us 9 business days, and I had none of the pre-approval work done up front. When we received our clear to close, Kim, the buyer, cried. This purchase meant everything to her. She had recently lost her mom, and before she died, they had discussed how much this new home purchase would mean to her daughter. Even though I assured her in our first conversation that we were going to be fine, she was prepared for another nightmare with Highlands. Not the case. Another hero loan under my belt. This is just one hero loan story, as we have many of them. My team and myself love saving the deal and saving the day. Now, I would like to spend my last few minutes sharing my community outreach platform. I have had a lot of success in my mortgage career, and because of this, I am able to give back to my community. This is why all of my events are complimentary. I have had my radio show for over 11 years. Let me show my community page. So first is my radio show. So I've had my radio show for over 11 years, and it became a podcast in 2020, launched my podcast on it. This space is where I can showcase other business professionals so they can share their message online. I also offer my time management and business efficiency coach, which you can get on my events platform right here. One of the questions this morning, my introduction was life balance. You hear people say, it's not possible, but I'm here to tell you that it is. You can have it all, a successful business and a great life. But in order to accomplish this, you must run a high efficiency business model. I have learned through trial and error what to do and what not to do. I've paved a path and share a proven roadmap to success for business and for life. I offer an introductory 8-week course and then a 1-year extension course, both complimentary, in the implementation where I can support you every step of the way. Next is my personal mastery course. To be successful, you must also create the best space for you and you alone, as Monique shared. This is what personal mastery is all about, mastering yourself. Only then can you be your best self for the people that you love and the community that you would like to serve. This is also a 1-year complimentary program. I share exercises that I created during the financial meltdown where I lost almost everything. This is when I realized that life must be much more than just money. Through my own discovery of personal mastery, it made me the person that I am today. Even though this journey was not focused on making money, in 2012, in the middle of the financial meltdown and the Great Recession of 2008, I had my best year up to date. These exercises I share will challenge you, but will ever change your life, just as they did mine. I also have my Connection virtual meetup. This was created to connect you with other business professionals. Each month I come up with questions that were designed to engage conversation and meaningful connections. and also my keynote From Tragedy to Triumph that I created in March of 2018. From my early years and well into my adult life, I've had my fair share of tragedies, from playing my violin at Pike Place Market with my little sister to help our parents keep a roof over our head, my dad's addictions and his attempted suicide when I was 12 years old, my own struggle with drugs, and spending time in a mental health facility for teens with behavioral health issues. How my high school sweetheart and my first husband, Mike, was in prison for 5 years for armed robbery, and he died of a drug overdose. And most tragic of all, the death of our daughter, Amber. But through these tragedies, I was able to triumph. I believe that life throws us tragedies so we can share a story of triumph on the other side, but you must fight through your tragedies to make it to the other side. I share my story of tragedy to triumph and hope that my story and journey in life will inspire others to fight for their life. You can listen to my virtual or in-person keynote on my keynote speaker sheet. I also published my book, Journey with Me, in October of 2016. I was inspired to share my story when asked to support the women at the House of Hope. These women lived in the home with their children, trying to get their feet back on the ground and get a home of their own after a tragic event in their life. Before this day, I had never shared my story publicly. Even worse, I hid who I really was from everyone, at least on my professional side. My best referral partners had no idea who I really was and where I came from. I was embarrassed and shamed and felt if anyone knew my story, they would not have confidence in my ability as a mortgage professional and would not want to support my business. Then I met with Leslie Hancock, an industry leader in the real estate space and the founder of the House of Hope. She asked me to come share with the women how to be successful in business. Leslie did not know my story. When preparing for my speech, I realized that I could not drive up in my Jaguar, share successful tips without being vulnerable and opening up to the women through my own journey in life. The big problem, Leslie was going to be in attendance. The thought of this horrified me, but I decided to think about the women and not myself, to come from a place of contribution instead of worrying about the impact that it may have on my professional reputation, to be my authentic self and not worry about the repercussion this would have on my business. My life would never be the same after this date. I not only inspired the women, but someone that was an inspiration to me in the real estate space, I inspired her. Leslie asked me, why did I never share my story with her before? Well, after that night, I was literally an open book. The women of the House of Hope inspired me to write my story and to share my story. In my 27 years in profession, I feel blessed that I have a career that I love that provides me financial resources to live a great life. And I have a platform to contribute and give back to my community, which I will put in the chat. Thank you so much for listening. Tina Mitchell, making a difference in families, one mortgage at a time. All right, so next, let me stop recording.